How you doing?
Backyard Central.
So I've done avocados. I've done a lot of avocados. In fact, one of my first trees was a Haas avocado. And let me just tell you, don't start off with avocados. They're temperamental to an extent. They're not the easiest ones to do in a hot climate like ours. And secondly, I've killed a lot of trees. I mean, a lot of people probably don't admit that, but I have, and you will. And honestly, sometimes things die just for no apparent reason. It happens. And then what really sucks about this hobby is that you have to wait a year before you can do something again, right? Because there's seasons, and you can't just go and plant things any season, especially with avocados. So it's kind of the long game. But once you get there, and I've never felt better. I mean, I've been in sports and all sorts of things, and this is the best I've ever felt by realizing my goal. And then another thing, don't get discouraged by what people say. Like, I grow things in pots. There's pluses and minuses to that. But I've been told that they just do not grow here at all. I've been told that it's just too hot here. I've been told they don't flower. It's impossible. So first thing I'm going to say is soil matters, right? That's probably the most important thing above anything else. They like aeration. I've done plenty of videos on soil. Let me know if I need to do another one. Jumping into it, I would say starting off, probably get a Mexican variety. Wurtz do really well here. Mexicolas. I've had 3 Haas's though, and they all died. So whatever that's about, but it would probably make sense to get something that's Mexican. Right here, we're looking at the fall. This is what everything looks like coming out of the fall season. Now, what will happen is that your leaves will look like crap, right? Like when they come out of waking up, if it's cold, if you have it covered, depending. But they're also really big. Like I said it before, your plants will talk to you. Well, they do. Like, your leaves will be big in the winter and when there's less sun. Leaves are basically like solar panels, right? So the bigger the leaf, the more light that they can pull in. And what will happen is the leaves will start to die off, and they'll get these little small new growth that'll come in, like how these things look. Now these are looking a little bit yellow, and that's 2 things. Again, leaves are gonna look crappy, and when they come back, they'll look fantastic. But I also, this year, I tried to do something different with my fertilizations and my composts, and I didn't buy anything to put on them. Sure, you can make your own, but that'll be right. That's easily rectified, right? Like, the tree is still healthy. If your tree is healthy, that's really, besides the soil, that's the other thing that's really important. If a healthy tree will be able to withstand the heat a little bit better, the cold a little bit better. Everything's in pots, so all the soil is exactly the way it needs to be. So growing these in the ground, it might be a little bit different as far as acclimation, but it is what it is. So there's, like I said, there's positives and there's negatives to growing in pots. For me, this works, and I have this fake grass, so I can't just plant things in the ground. So this is how it's gonna work. I have my little babies on one side, and I have the older ones on the other side. And the other thing that's good about pots is I can change everything around. Like, so if I'm finding out that a spot is not doing so well, I can move things over. And what I think I'm gonna do is, on this side that gets less protection, I'm gonna have things that are not able to deal with the sun as well. And then on this side, I'm gonna have the smaller, my babier things, and I can get these shaded. So I'm gonna move over some of those things. And then another thing to consider is acclimation. Like, your leaves need to acclimate to the climate. So I would say about 3 years or so for things to get used to your climate, and things will slowly start getting better and better. Just like if you move to another state. Plants are so similar to humans, it's scary sometimes when I start thinking about it. I was an EMT and learned about a lot of things, and then it's like, but a lot of things are working that way with the plants. So it's kind of funny to me. They are living things. Sure, they may or may not have a soul, but I love them just the same. At any rate, pay attention to your leaves. What you really want to do in the earlier months, like January or so, that's when you really just start putting on the fertilizations and things, when things are waking up. It's kind of the base across the plane with all the trees, but extra with these. summer starts kicking in and things really start to take off. In fact, there's a lot of growth that happens in the summertime. So if they hate the summer, then why do they grow? They love summer. I'm telling you, the heat is when I see the most and best changes, to be honest. But all these leaves, look, these gigantic leaves are all going to change. This is a mexicolas. There's a lot of babies over here. Next year I should get some big growth. I overwintered these inside when I first got them. But you can see all the new growth coming in. You definitely want to start getting things painted. Everything needs to be protected. It's especially true with avocados. So then another thing I'm looking for when the seasons change is the leaves curling. Leaf curling like that generally means, sure, they're going to fall off, but also could mean that they need a little bit more water. It's a little bit easier to tell you how to water. Like, that was the thing that was super frustrating with me, is trying to figure out how much water a plant really needs. And honestly, they don't need much, but watering is dependent on your soil and the plant itself. For me, the way that I make my soil, that means that I'm watering 2 times a day for about 5 minutes a piece. And it's a lot of water because I have a lot of plants, but as far as the plant goes itself, like, it's not a lot of water. I basically water until I know that the water is coming out of the bottom of the pot. And you can do that with drip irrigation. And you're probably wondering what all this white stuff is. This is kaolin clay. When it starts to get hot out, so like when summer's really starting to kick off, before these leaves start turning brown, that means they're going to fall off. I want to go around and get everything sprayed really well. I did a video on that on my mixture, but what that does, it's like putting a sunscreen on the leaves. They really want dappled shade. They want some light, but they also want some shade. You got to think about what it looks like in where they grow naturally. But I kind of get them all over all the leaves, and that will direct shade to them. You know, you could put up shade cloth or do whatever you want, but as things acclimate, this is the way that I like to have them done, so that they can get used to the heat. And honestly, it's not the heat that kills things, it's the rays. Like, they can handle heat fine. Like, it's never been the heat that's the issue. It's the sun rays burning them and burning the roots or burning the actual branches. As far as fertilization goes, I do try to make sure I get all the leaves on there. I'll give some slow release fertilizer. I do try to once a month come out and put compost over everything, or worm castings on top of the slow fertilization every other month. But they do, of course, do better with the morning sun and then afternoon shade. But what I'm kind of trying to do is have them surrounded by other plants with leaves and have them reach out for their own sun versus me putting them directly in the sun. And that seems to work very well. As you know, I do have a pond as well, so I do try to keep the avocados and things closer to the pond. I mean, it's still hot and everything just evaporates, but the things by the pond, the humidity is going to be a little bit better over there. Now, if you have them directly in the sun like this, like I was saying, this is no problem. They will drop their leaves, but you can see that these are coming in healthy. These are brand new leaves. They can handle it. I'm not saying these are in full sun, but they are getting a lot of sun. I'll try to put over a little bit of shade cloth once we start getting in that 115 degrees, but it's not fully covered. I want it to get, they got to acclimate. They got to get used to it, and eventually they will. But just because your leaves look crappy doesn't necessarily, you got to understand why they look crappy. You got to think about the weather, how much water you're giving them, and everything else. If it's a healthy tree, you know, this is what it kind of looks like. Just like people, the healthier you are, the more you're able to withstand things and be tolerant of. But if you look, each one of these branches has smaller leaves coming off on them. Those smaller leaves are the new growth. It gets rid of the old, out with the old, in with the new. Once it gets really hot, then that's when I'm putting up my shade cloth, like in parts. I don't want to cover it completely. I definitely want to be having some of that after like 12 o'clock shade a little bit. I don't want that setting sun to really be hitting these too much, so I have a shade cloth on the opposite side, but they're getting the whole morning sun as much as possible. And in a couple weeks, these will all be gone, and then we'll just have smaller leaves that are doing great. I'll be sure to do an update on that. But at any rate, leave me a comment below. It's always weird to me because people in Vegas seeing the thing that you can't do some of these things, but people are doing it in Arizona. Why can they do it in Arizona and not here? I don't know. Leave me a comment. Tell me about your experiences. And most importantly, I'm just trying to show you my experiences and learn from other people as well. Like, you can always learn something new. One of those mornings, you'll get it done. Let's grow.